You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. And welcome back to the table for another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors.
The good doctors.
Listen, it's always good to be back at the table once again. Week after week, I tell you, this is one of the highlights of my week. Always, I will say that.
Always, bro. I enjoy dining with you. I enjoy just hanging around you, and that's just cutting up. You know, anytime we get together, it's going to be a good time. We're going to learn something. We're going to try to inspire some people. We like to leave people better than we found them, but we're going to have a good time.
Listen, always. And I tell you, and it's the conversations, and that's the piece. You know, I was talking to someone, they were asking about, just in terms of us being at the table, eating and talking, and, they're laughing, of course, because they know we like that bacon and biscuits and that honey butter.
Yes, honey butter, baby.
But I told them, they said, but it's the conversation and all or whatever. And I find myself, when I'm around others, they'll bring up different show topics that we've had. And it's like, can we expound on certain things a little bit more? And I told them, I said, sometimes we bring people back and jump right on into it. I said, but the idea and the mindset is to spark conversations amongst them. Once you've heard us kind of introduce the topic, where do you go from here? And that was one of the things they talked about, is being able to talk about some of these things, whether it's some of the mental health things that have happened in their families, some of the wealth types of things and things that's going on in their families or whatever. But it really has been able to create some conversations and all. And so it was definitely good to hear that the intention and the mission of what we set out to do some years ago is really just taking off in some of our listeners and what they're taking away from the show.
I always am so happy to hear from them as well. And when I see them out in public and they stop me and they tell me about the show, sometimes I have forgotten about that show.
Right.
Because we've done so many shows. I'm like, what? Say that again. And so I'm glad that we do have our YouTube channel. We got to do a better job of telling people about our YouTube channel so they can get out there and check out our previous shows. But I have a great time, and I have a great time having conversations, and I'm excited about the conversation that we're going to have today, too. It's not any different than the other days in the sense that we're going to have a good time, and it's a necessary conversation, too. Definitely a necessary conversation. It's one that is very taboo sometimes for people because people don't like talking about certain things. And if you could think about some of those things that you were not allowed to talk about at the table, you can imagine we about to talk about one.
Exactly. One of those ways, especially if it was a family gathering, you had the adult table and then you had the kids table.
And you better stay in your place. A child's place when you belong in a child's place. And the adults don't need to be playing with the kids either. So, there was a separation and we learned a lot of things. And there's some things that we didn't learn because we were not allowed to sit at the table with the adults. And so today we're inviting all the people, all the good people to the table so that they can all sit and have this conversation that we need to have.
Exactly. But I'm going to tell you, I will say this. Sometimes for me, I enjoy sitting at the kids' table because the conversation with the kids.
You're a big kid. You a big kid.
I love it. I like some of them better than the adults.
Listen, now that part is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. That's the reason why some people love teaching.
Yes.
Because they can deal with children a lot better than the adults. So, we always welcome our educators.
Very much so. We can tap in, at those formative years and really expand their minds and have them at a place that they can start thinking about things, and really thinking about things in a positive way where we are inspiring them to be critical thinkers and analytical thinkers, and really thinking through things versus as I would say, teaching our young people how to respond versus how to react.
React. Oh yeah, there's a
Hmm.
big difference. One
Yes,
of my good mentors way back in the way back talked to me about being a a thermostat instead of a thermometer.
exactly.
And I have always taken that with me in the sense that you have to set the temperature. You set the
That's right.
temperature. You don't respond and react to the temperatures of other people. They want it to be cold outside. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's warm on the inside. It's warm on the
Exactly.
inside because that's how I like my temperature set.
That's it.
And
Exactly.
don't play with my
Mm-mm.
numbers.
Right, exactly. You set that thermostat on a number, and anytime the temperature gets a little high, it cools it off. If it gets a little low, it warms it right on back up. But you set the temperature.
Set the temperature. So that's one of the reasons why I get up early in the morning so that I can set the temperature before everybody else starts to set it. But today we're going to set the temperature too. At the table, we are going to set the temperature and we're going to have a conversation about finances.
All
And that
right.
is, yes, that is a
Mm-hmm.
topic that we people don't often like to talk about, but it's
Mm-mm.
necessary, especially when you
Mm-mm.
have problems with it.
Exactly. You start
Especially,
talking coins and dollars, people get upset, boy. I'm gonna tell you.
ooh,
Yeah,
ooh, but
what they say, dollar bill, y'all.
listen, they better tuck their toes in. They better tuck their toes in because we're having that full fledged conversation today. But what I'm really excited about this guest is that everybody should be comfortable about being at the table with her because we've had her at the table multiple
Mm-hmm.
times. And so they should be comfortable having conversations with her. Typically, she comes to talk to us about health, like our physical health. But
Mm-hmm.
today we're going to be talking about some financial wealth and wellness. And we're going to be talking about her story about how she came from being almost, you would almost say penniless to being, let's just call it what it is, wealthy. Let's just call it what it is, wealthy. So
All
I
right.
want to welcome to the table for, I can't even tell you how many times, but definitely not the last time, Dr. Jamesia Braxton. Welcome
Yes.
to the table. Welcome back to the Sunday brunch table.
Hey y'all. Thanks for
Hey,
Hey.
having me.
it's always good to welcome you back, that's for sure. And I'm gonna tell you before you say something, as soon as I see that tray of bacon come out there, I'm going to the line and get that bacon. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yes, I do know this. I do know this.
Don't be offended. He's still gonna listen from a distance. Don't be offended. He'll get back in there.
I know
Right, right.
it.
But I have made some changes. I have made some changes based on conversations we've had now. So there have been some things that
What kind of
we've
changes you done
we've
made?
we've made some
Want to know
shifts and some
too?
changes. So that's definitely so working on more protein, less
Okay.
less less carbs, more protein, and more vegetables. I will say that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, you're
Mm-hmm.
looking good anyway.
Well, thank you. I'm trying. I'm trying to keep up. These streets are rough out here.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's terrible in these streets. It is cold in these streets. It's cold right now. So I'm glad we're bringing some warmth to the table. I want to make sure that we don't get too sidetracked because Dr. J, we can talk to you about anything all the time.
Yes, ma'am.
But we did bring you to the table for a purpose because you've done something recently and that you shared a part of yourself that other people had not been privy to. Like when people see people from the distance, they make assumptions about who we are. When they
Mhm.
see us together or whatever, that people make assumptions about how we got to be where we are, but
Mhm.
people don't always know the real aspects of what drives a person to continue to do that. What is the resilience in you? What is that real fortitude in you? And why is it important for you to have conversations about finances and wealth specifically?
Yeah, wow. Excellent, excellent questions. For me, it's important because several reasons. Number one, because I have been homeless, not once, not twice, but three times. And
Hmm.
I come from Los Angeles, California. A lot of people know that about me, but being from Los Angeles and being able to do all types of ventures while being there um, have brought me through a lot. Um, it's important that I talk about my family, how I started. I didn't come from nothing per se. I came from the background of my father being an entrepreneur, a restaurant owner, but also an alcoholic. I come
Mm.
from a brother who was out there in the streets and the gang and slanging and doing his thing in Los Angeles, and then being in prison for many years with me not knowing where he was. I come from, a mother who was a model who made a lot of money. I saw her more on TV than I did at home. She was also a nurse and she was also hooked on crack cocaine. Therefore,
Mm.
we lost everything.
Mm.
So I come from knowing what it was like to have a new car every 6 months, coming from having every and anything I wanted to being put out, to coming around the corner from school one day and seeing all of my things on the side of the road.
Mm.
So
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. You jumped past that like that was just, oh, just another day,
right,
Right, right.
just another day of the week. What?
right.
That's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of trauma that you talked about in just a few seconds. You did, and it didn't even seem like you was done. That seemed like a comma and not a period.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was rolling into a little bit more stuff, but we can stop there. The thing about that is this. Um, it's not the thing that broke me. It really is the thing that propelled me into the person that I am today.
And that's why we needed to stop right there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
apologize. My my phone was ringing. I apologize for that. Yeah, and so when I say that, not for shock value, just to let people know that even though you go through stuff,
Mm-hmm.
even though life may seem like you're at the end, and you can't come up, you really can. And in all of that, the bottom line is, yes, I have been homeless one, two, three times.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I did have parents who were amazing entrepreneurs, amazing innovators, but they were also dealt some some negative things. In the 80s, when crack cocaine hit Los Angeles, California, it was like being in The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Tell you, no one had a chance, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that did touch my home. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, I believe in a good God,
Amen.
A great God.
a great God,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
that is the only thing that protected me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, being there in Los Angeles in that time. And so I felt that there were several reasons that I wrote this book that I wrote, and that's Wealth, Wellness, and Freedom. The several reasons why it's important is one, because I am an African American female, and I have seen both sides. I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm.
And my whole goal has been returning back to what I knew as a child,
Mm-hmm.
meaning I knew there was a good life. I lived it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
But to go from that to such a
Mm-hmm.
drastic change put a fire in me that, okay, you come from parents who had this, and you can get this again as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was attainable.
Yes,
Because
yes,
you came
Right.
from that, it didn't seem
Mm-hmm.
as if it was not ever achievable. But
right.
it
Mm-hmm.
also made you always ever present and like aware of what it was that
Mm-hmm.
you were missing at that point if you didn't have it.
Absolutely.
Right.
And not to get sidetracked or not to get bogged down in the negativity of what happened,
Mm-hmm.
but just to make people aware that just because you're sitting where I was, lets you know that you can be exactly where I am today.
Well, let me ask you this, because you're going to hit on a couple of things here. Okay, and I want to make sure we cover both because I think both are actually very important, especially in terms of where we are in society with some things. One, being the coping skills, what was there for you to manage, your situation during that time, but then also that sense of resiliency that kept you in the fight because oftentimes it's a lack of coping skills, a lack of resilience that sometimes lead people down that rabbit hole of one finding other ways to cope utilizing drugs because you've experienced that and you were in the midst of all of that, and so it would have been a likely choice for you to just jump right on into using drugs as a coping mechanism. But then also the lack of resilience where some people just give up and they take that path of suicide. You know what I mean? And so let's tap into those things right quick, in terms of what from a coping mechanism or coping skills sense, what was there for you, and then we'll jump into resiliency.
So coping, as far as coping, I'm gonna just be honest with you. At that time, so you have to understand there was myself, my brother, and my sister.
Mm-hmm.
My brother went one way, and
Mm-hmm.
I went the exact opposite way. My sister kind of in the middle.
Okay.
Um, I was able to go and live with my grandmother for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And my
Mm-hmm.
grandmother exposed me to the Church of Christ,
Okay.
exact,
Okay.
exposed me to the church. And I completely dove headfirst into everything about
Mm-hmm.
religion.
Mm-hmm.
I overdosed on religion. And,
Mm-hmm.
um, there's good and bad in that, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But
That
that was your coping.
was my
Right. Mm-hmm.
that was
Mm-hmm.
my coping. And when I tell you Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, Sunday night, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
Able to walk to the church because again, I didn't have anything at that time. So that's how I coped. I coped with religion. I coped with knowing that God had his arms around me. And
Mm-hmm.
that is how I coped. And I
Okay.
put one foot in front of the other every single.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And with that, because we see people come to the church in churches on a regular basis. And one of the things I know in terms of talking with people years ago, when you talk about trust in God, God is going to make a way and things of that nature and all or whatever. But then they still come to church and yet they're still having issues. They're having financial problems. They're having, nothing has changed and all or whatever. Um, and we do a great job of bringing people into the church.
Mhm.
But when we talk about how do you build that relationship with Christ and understand what does that look like, coming in the church doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to have problems. It's about how do you deal with those problems, and your outlook on those problems are different because of that relationship, with Christ and all or whatever. And so, how did that from that perspective, how did you begin with developing that relationship with God and with Christ and everything, whatever? Just because just going to church just didn't change it for you.
Well, there's two things, Mason. I'm gonna tell
Mm-hmm.
you this.
Mm-hmm.
There was something that I experienced when I was 7 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of goes against what I I have
Have been taught.
been taught.
Mhm.
She knows because anyway. So
Mhm.
when I was 7 years old, Mason,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I remember being upstairs in my mother's bedroom, and I was playing dress up. She wasn't home. I don't know when, maybe 3 weeks she had been gone. We were left to our own devices, and I was upstairs in her room. I was playing dress up, and I happened to have turned her TV on, and it was Sunday morning, and
Mm-hmm.
it happened to be on a program,
Mm-hmm.
religious program that said, touch the TV and you receive the Holy Spirit and all this and all that. I'm 7. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly what's going on, but something in me stirred.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I felt a relationship. I felt like I was asking God into my life at that time.
Mm-hmm.
I, at that time, almost immediately went to touch the TV, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the guy was saying to do it, the minister, and I collapsed onto the floor.
Mm-hmm.
in excruciating pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the type of pain that I've never felt before. And my brother, for whatever reason, had recognized this pain, and he went downstairs and he got me a jelly sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me that jelly sandwich because I was in so much pain from hunger.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And I said a prayer right then and there when I started eating that sandwich, and those cramps and pain from my stomach began to release.
Mm-hmm.
I felt as if, and I know to this day that God saved me, God delivered.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I relate that also to the fact that my grandmother was able to take me, myself, just me, not my sister,
Mm-hmm.
not my brother,
Mm-hmm.
to her home. And she was a very religious woman. So,
Mm-hmm.
so all of these things added up to me, Mason. Like you said, I didn't know I didn't know for sure, but I knew for sure. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
That
Mm-hmm.
Let
God
me tell
had,
you, I did not know the jelly sandwich story. So you talking about I knew, but I did not know the jelly sandwich story. That is serious. Your
yeah.
brother
Mm-hmm.
was responding to your hunger need.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like a religious experience to
Yes.
you
Yes.
because
Mm-hmm.
you were getting ready to check out because you were famished because your mother had left you guys without food and whatnot and supervision for a period of time. And he had felt that pain before because he understood what it felt to be hungry.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my word.
But see,
Yes.
here's the thing, because that speaks to so many different things, and one being, as you touch that TV, waiting for a sign from God, and not realizing that God used your brother, and
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes we're sitting around waiting, for this big Damascus Road moment, this big
Revelation. Yeah.
miracle. You know what I mean? We're waiting for things and not realizing that God can use other people, because oftentimes with people with medical issues and stuff like that or whatever, I've heard them say, well, no, I don't trust doctors. I'm not going to the hospital. I'm not this, I'm not that, or whatever. I'm waiting on God. But not recognizing that God works through people,
Mm-hmm.
and he sends the right people at the right time. And at
The
that time,
right time.
that moment was for your brother to get that jelly sandwich. You know what I mean? And he brought that to you. You know what I'm saying? So I'll never look at Welch's again the same.
Listen, listen
I'm
to
a
me. I'm about to
listen,
cry. I'm
listen,
listening.
listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you just have those moments.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you eat
So
jelly today? Do you eat jelly today?
I do eat jelly today,
Okay.
but I'm gonna tell you, I don't eat that Wonder Bread that I had back then. But
Well, girl, Wonder Bread is good bread.
listen, I do eat. I do eat that.
that's that. Look, my grand said, get that light bread. That's what she called the light
Yeah,
bread.
that's that light bread. Yes.
But I said all that to say that I have had a relationship with God from that
Mm-hmm.
moment. And
Yes.
and it's a special relationship, Mason.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot I
Mm.
cannot verbalize what it it has shaped me into the woman that I am today. And when I tell
Mm-hmm.
you, being on the streets of Los Angeles in the situations that I have been in, there is no way that I should have survived
Mm.
the way I did. I
Mm.
recognize that
Mm.
I recognize that that's God. And when I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
Mason, I've had some low moments and I've had
Mm-hmm.
high moments.
Some
And
very nice moments.
and and
Mm-hmm.
and when my grandmother got sick, she
Mm-hmm.
left me in Santa Monica in her rent control apartment for
Mm-hmm.
$127 a month. I was 15 years old. I was at school, going to school, 15 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I went down to the Korean ice cream shop, Foster Freeze, asked for a job, didn't have no, was not able to work. The man gave me a job, paid me under the table, Mason.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was able to stay in school for one, and I was able to pay that $227 a month rent that was rent control in my
How
mother
you keep the lights on though?
and my grandmother's. It was all included. And
Oh,
when I
that's a blessing.
here's the craziest thing, the man who owned the apartment building was a member of the Church of Christ.
Mm.
Mm.
He knew I was in there and he would check on me every now and again. And he knew I was in there by myself and he left me alone. He let me pay the rent. I finished high school,
Mm.
Mm.
lived in that apartment. And listen, God kept me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he did.
Hmm. God kept me
Mm-hmm.
until crack cocaine creeped in there too. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
whole nother
Mm-hmm.
story. So
Say what?
well, my uncle was there and him and his friends started doing their thing. And
Thank you for being specific because I'm about to say, wait a minute. Now
yeah,
I've read the book now.
yeah.
I
And
wrote the
so,
forward to the book and I didn't see nothing there about you being on crack
oh,
cocaine.
no, no, no,
Thank,
no,
thank
no,
you.
no, 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 never touched anything. Not even
Hmm.
marijuana. But
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, so God is good. I'm just saying, and to bring it all around, I was able to start my own business by the age of 20,
Hmm.
Ebony Insurance, and Ebony
Hmm.
Insurance did well. Of course, it didn't keep the lights on forever. And eventually, I was moving from couch to couch, from place to place, from living in my Volkswagen Bug out in Los Angeles, living in places where I should not have been. And
Hmm.
finally, I joined the military. And that's
Hmm.
it changed my life. That's what really saved me.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Do you see his face? You
Yeah.
see his
Listen,
face?
but I'm gonna tell you, it's these moments when I listen to people and they talk about this stuff, and I always tell folks, things that even that I've been through in my life, it's not because of my education or anything like that or whatever, because other people have been blessed with these things or whatever. It's because God has kept me all these years, and so when people look at things that have happened or they look at what you're
Hmm.
doing, they want to know, why do you always smile? Why do
Hmm.
the things, whatever, I'm thankful that one, I don't look like what I've been through. Two,
Amen.
I can't
That
allow
part.
what other people say about me, what other people do to me, because
Mm.
guess what? Through it all, I know who I am and I know whose I am. You
That's the
understand?
big part right
That's
there.
it.
Who's?
That's it, And so I always tell folks, my smile is not about you. My
Mm-mm.
smile is not about me. My smile is about the way that God has continued to keep me, you know?
In the midst of it all.
Listen,
and
listen,
and 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 he wraps me and cloaks me in my right
listen.
mind. And when
Right.
people try to pull it out of me,
Listen.
he keeps me still and lets me know that he is able. So yes, indeed. People don't
Listen.
know,
Mm-mm.
but you
Mm-mm.
have to be ready to give
Right.
a test for the hope
Yeah,
that's within you and your calling. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
so happy that you were able to, even at 7, what you recognize is that you needed something. You
Mm-hmm.
needed more. And it had to be
Mm-hmm.
something bigger than you out there to help and assist in this situation. And they were offering you hope through that
yeah,
screen.
Mm-hmm.
They were
Mm-hmm.
offering you an opportunity. And you, even then at a young age, knew that you had to be willing to do something. Because even the Bible tells us faith without works is dead.
There
So
yeah,
you
you
go.
have to be able to have the faith to know that he can do it, but you still got to do
Mm-hmm.
something there yourself. And so you were willing
Mm-hmm.
to walk to church. You were willing to work it out. You were willing to get, at 15, you can't even get some people to make their bed.
yeah,
But
Right.
you were like, I'm gonna live here by myself. That's
Mm-hmm.
rough business.
yeah,
Right, right, exactly. That's that resilience piece. You know what I mean? Just recognizing that I just know that there's something greater. You
yeah,
know what I mean? God didn't bring me this far just to leave me. Even at a young age, it's like, okay, you've been through this, you've been through that, and you just know that there's something out there that's greater. There's
absolutely.
something that's out there that's certainly greater. So I'm thankful. I am thankful for the coping skills that you've been able to show, and just the resilience, because now you look at being able to share all of these things,
Mhm.
through your life, your walk, when other people see you, and the fact that there's no shame in what God has brought you through. It's being able to share that with others, and not allow yourself to say, you could have just fell right into that area of self-pity and things of that nature, but you could also walk into it like, look what I've done.
Yeah,
I'm a doctor now. And it's all about God. You're giving him the honor and the glory that he deserves, and he will continue to bless you and those around. I'm just trying to look, touch the hem of them
Listen,
garment. You
and
know what I'm saying?
let me tell you
Listen,
this.
listen.
Let me tell you this, that she may have been hungry before, but my sister makes a point to really feed other people. And,
Yes.
so when she asked me, would I write the forward of her book. It was the a no brainer for me, no question, because she's always feeding into other people. She's always
Mm-hmm.
pouring into other people, and to come from a moment where you are hungry to need a jelly sandwich, and let me tell you, she put some amazing jellies in her food. I had Thanksgiving with her, and
Mm-hmm.
she she cooks, and um she bakes and she cooks, and it just puts another perspective into it now as to why you want to nurture people, and not
Mm-hmm.
to make light of what your parents did. A lot of times what people don't understand about addiction is a disease, and it happens to people, and it's not the people that are the problem, it's the
Mm-hmm.
disease that's the issue or the concern.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
even though your parents left you in those circumstances, one thing that I did not overlook in what you said was that your mother was a nurse. And so you're calling even now, and your father was an entrepreneur. And so you are an entrepreneur still, and you
Mm-hmm.
very much, even though you have your doctorate degree, your doctor's in nursing. And so you still got those things from your parents, the gifts and the skills that they had, they blessed you with it. You're just using them in a positive way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I do want it to be known that it's not easy. It's not
Mm-mm.
easy
Mm-hmm.
telling people this part of me. This is not something that I share. You guys are really um an anomaly because I don't share this part. I mean, it's again, like I said, you want people to see
The
uh
best of you.
you
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to share. It is hard to share, and it's hard to relive because you're kind of reliving every time you share. But yes, it is necessary because I know that there are young people out there just like me that have been
Mm-hmm.
through and are going through the
Mm-hmm.
exact same thing. When I had the opportunity to speak at Achievable Dreams, there were so many young people coming up to me, talking to me about my story, talking to me about what they're going through, the exact same types and kinds of things. So I just want that to be known. It's not easy, but it.
Mm-hmm.
It is necessary, which is the conversation we had right before brunch started. When
Mm-hmm.
I told her, bro, that I wanted her to come back and talk about her book, I started this morning by telling her that I wanted her to really tell her story. And you should have seen the look that she gave me, because I
Mm-hmm.
know it's not easy. And I didn't give her heads up about that aspect,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not something that you can't prompt that. It has to be a natural flow to that thing. It has
Mm-hmm.
to be a genuine feeling to that. But I told her, in the words that I said was, I know you don't like it, sissy, but it's necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it's necessary is that a lot of times people look at us, and it's like people tell you that the grass is greener on the other side. They look at the grass, but they don't know what people have gone through to water their grass. They don't know what
Right.
they've gone through to pay for the grass. They don't know about the upkeep of that grass. You can get something, you can get somewhere, but can you stay there though? Can you keep
Right.
that though? Can you really maintain that situation though? And a lot of times people think they can do it, but what you said, Sissy, is the truth. Point blank, it is not easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then every
Mm-hmm.
day you wake up, you are still a part of your story every single day. And every single day, you have to make a decision not to sit in that, but to continue to grow and to thrive, not
Mm-hmm.
to survive in these moments. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's necessary so that other people know that even people at the top still have to do the same kind of work. Even the
Mm-hmm.
people at the top, they didn't always stay there. They weren't always there. It's work to that. It's
Mm-hmm.
work to that.
Right. Exactly. And even having to manage, dealing with people
People.
who, while you're trying to continue to help and do things or whatever, they're going to be those folks that are trying to tear you down for whatever reason. They have their own issues and all. And you just have to balance that and not allow that to, affect your trajectory in terms of where God has you moving, and I always tell people don't allow people to move you out of your grace with God, and take you to a place that God is not pleased with your work or works.
Mhm.
at that point. You allow God to handle certain things, because I always tell folks, if I let God, if I don't let God fix it, I could be asking for bail money or somebody to put $20 on my books, you know what I'm saying? So I don't handle it the way I may want to handle things, so
Please don't.
that's why I
Please
just
don't.
that's why I just smile right on through it, because I tell you, in the end, you
Yeah.
know, I tell folks, people do things to you, and they think that they have won, but God will give you a front row seat to watch Him
Hmm.
handle them, and that's the reality of all. And so I still pray for them, although sometimes I smile, Lord, forgive me, because I never want to smile at anybody's demise. But when folks do you wrong and do things to you, sometimes you just have to smile and say, God don't like ugly,
He
you know.
prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies and anoints my head with oil, and my cup
Yeah,
running over, baby. And when I
listen,
see it running, I just let it go ahead and trickle right on over. I say, God
listen.
got it. God
Li-
got it. And
That's it,
got
and
you too.
that's
Yes,
it.
indeed.
And I drink from the salsa at that point. You hear what I
Hey,
say?
hey, the overflow, the overflow. Um, yeah, people wonder why we smile so much, and they don't understand that it's very important. It's a necessary. It's almost a trauma
Mm-hmm.
response too. It's a way of a mask
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
emotionally compartmentalize and
Mm-hmm.
control yourself. Like when we stop smiling is when people need to be concerned.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. What look, I just keep it moving. Like Miss Sealy said, what everything you until you do right by me.
Nothing until you do right by. Listen, that's not even today's conversation. That's not even today's conversation. He has us all the way off that topic right there. Let's get on back to financing.
Listen, look, you don't take much for me to start talking about the Lord and the
Listen,
good and His goodness. That's all I'm gonna say. But
yes,
anyway, yeah. Look, back to wealth, wellness, and
and
freedom.
financing. So you didn't stay
Yes.
there. You didn't stay there. What
Mhm.
pushed you then into? I mean, obviously your mother was a nurse, but how did you get into nursing?
Ooh, that was kind of a promise I made to God.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
made to God. I was looking at when I was in the Air Force, I was a dental hygienist and
Mm-hmm.
I worked with a doctor, Dr. Mauger, who is a very big part of my story because he
Mm-hmm.
me to stocks. But what got me into nursing was that when I got out of the Air Force, I started working and I could not be a hygienist. I could only be assistant, and that wasn't making enough money. So my mother-in-law at the time was like, Jay, you really would be good as a nurse. You really would be good as a nurse. And I was like, I don't want to be a nurse. My mother was a nurse. I don't want to do nothing my mother done done. I don't want to. And so she kept on me and kept on me. And I said, okay. I prayed about it and I said, Lord, I'm going to apply to dental school. I'm going to apply
Mm-hmm.
to nursing school. And whoever gives me a yes back first,
Mm-hmm.
I will go and where I will excel. And of course, as you know, nursing sent me the admission to the University of Central Florida first.
Mm-hmm.
And then the University of Gainesville came for dentistry
Mm-hmm.
probably a couple days later. But because
Just days.
Mm-hmm.
it's days, and because I promised God, I said, hey, this is what,
Mm-hmm.
and it has been my path ever since. So that's how I got.
Okay.
And you are doing very well in that path. And it has changed your trajectory.
It has.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
giving you many opportunities.
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to have a special stomach for that.
Yes.
Let me tell you, bro, that Jamesia and we have another line sister that we get together frequently, and they are both nurses. And they have conversations about things, never confidentiality parts, but just more
Mm-hmm.
about some of the things that they face. I don't have the stomach. You understand? I don't have
Mm-hmm.
the stomach to deal with a lot of the things that they did. And so I am convinced that just because you can doesn't mean that you should, and that it's
Mm-hmm.
something that you were actually called to do because you enjoy that.
I
You
do.
Mm-hmm.
enjoy taking care of other people and nursing them in that way. And she can talk about bodily fluids and deal with them. And I can't. I just
Mhm.
can't.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it has been a blessing. And yeah, I do love it. I do. I don't think dental would have given me the joy that I have now. It,
Mm-hmm.
it's not,
Mm-hmm.
it is not the same. So yeah, definitely.
And not only that, but you've passed that down to your daughter. So eventually we got to jump to that part that
Mm-hmm.
what you were running from, essentially, like, I will not be anything that my mom was. You got to be some of the best parts of her.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be some of the best parts of her. And then you had the audacity to have a daughter who wants to be just like you.
Yeah, yes, yes. She's also in nursing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been that. But when I want to come back to the fact that the Air Force is where I was exposed to
Mm-hmm.
stocks. And I want to say this before we do run out of time. My book, Wealth, Wellness, and Freedom, it is a mindset and money guide for women, but anyone can read it. But the reason why I do focus on women is because we are high consumers of things. We spend a lot
Mm-hmm.
of money, but our net worth is low. And so when you think about money, your mindset has to change from saving money to investing money. And being in the
Mm-hmm.
course, I was exposed to stocks and working with this doctor who that's all he talked about, real estate, stocks, and investing. And so
Mm-hmm.
he gave me a magazine called the Kiplinger magazine for my birthday. I thought it was the worst gift I could ever get.
But
Mm-hmm.
it blessed your life.
Really did. It really did. And even though I did not invest the way I should initially, it opened the door to knowing more about things we don't talk about. And that's money. And that's
Mm-hmm.
and so in this book, I do lay that out for women as to or anyone who reads the book as to how I've done that and what my journey has been like with investing in stocks and building wealth and living a legacy and leaving a legacy for my children. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. That is awesome. That is awesome. When people, I jokingly and tell my son that we're not leaving him an inheritance. We're traveling and spending all of that money right now.
So you better get in your good work trip.
That's the thing. But I think we also have to look at what is it that we're leaving behind, and that legacy of trying to make sure that we're creating some generational wealth. Some of us are just caught up, in working and working and working. And the mindset used to be, of course, you used to hear your grandparents and your parents even talk about a pension, retirement, 501, K plan and everything else or whatever. So it's like, whatever. What is it? 401. I don't want the 501.
Yeah, I was about to
Look,
say, I was like,
listen.
bro, I cannot let
I
you
don't
do
go to
that.
I don't go to the nonprofit.
No, you talking about a 504 plan.
yeah.
All these
you,
numbers and
you
everything
went
in
to the special
education,
education plan.
a 401k.
You saw my
But
face. I'm looking like, okay, hold on.
Yeah, buddy.
you gotta start rattling these numbers. I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute, wrong conversation. But with a 401k plan or a pension, but now you really have to look at how do you utilize insurance benefits and things of that nature, life insurance policies and stuff like that or whatever, and leave a legacy versus leaving debt.
Mhm.
You
Or
know,
GoFundMe.
Right. Look, we didn't even talk about that, GoFundMe. But anyway, but just those things. And most of the time, people are only thinking about how do you pay off your funeral cost. And sometimes people think, well, after I paid the funeral cost off, if there's an additional $10,000, we good. No, but what are you doing as to leave a legacy?
Mhm.
How do you use your life's work to pay for college, tuition for your grandchildren? There should be a life insurance policy that you have and your grandchildren are the beneficiaries or something like that or whatever. There's so many different opportunities and options that we really have to think about, in terms of how do we leave that legacy to build generational wealth moving forward and not
And
just
not
think
live
about it.
paycheck to paycheck.
That's it.
And
That's it.
I think that's the conversation that a lot of people don't want to have, is that they live well outside of their means and that they're living paycheck to paycheck, and there's nothing to invest when you just trying to survive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Want to say the biggest thing, Mason, just to answer your question, how do we do that? The biggest way to do that is imparting knowledge to our kids. The
Mm-hmm.
knowledge of what to do and how to do it. What what stocks to invest in,
Mm-hmm.
how to invest,
Mm-hmm.
that your bank account savings only yields you 0.5% on what you have in there versus the S&P 500 that may yield
Mm-hmm.
10 to 15%. The fact that you need life insurance in order
Mm-hmm.
to pay off or pay down debt if something happens.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have an revocable trust, a trust to have your businesses in. You
Mm-hmm.
have more streams of income. You need to work smarter. You need to have these things going on. You need to teach your children to have the knowledge in order to produce multiple streams of income. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just having a job. Your money should be working for you every day and all day. You should know where your money is and what your money is doing. Your money is doing either one or two things. It's wandering away from you or
Mm.
it's making you some money.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We need to have a stronger hold on our money. We should not just be buying things to buy things. We should buy things to in order for those things to take care of us in the future. So we
Mm-hmm.
teaching our children knowledge about real estate, like you said, life insurance, about stocks and bonds, about high yield savings, about 401ks, about all of these things, about you know, like you said, getting businesses where we can have our taxes taken care of. There's so much that we don't talk about, and money is one.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about money. We don't talk about how to keep it, how to grow it, and we need to start having
Mm-hmm.
these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Mm-hmm.
why we invited you to Sunday brunch
Yes,
so that
ma'am.
people can start, like we said at the beginning of the show, we start the conversations at the table. They're supposed to continue the conversations at their own tables and
Mhm.
then talk to their family about that and say, hey, what did you know about that? Or have you heard anything about that? Or maybe this is how Auntie was able to always take these trips, or this is how where she's doing with her money. We need to have those conversations and be more open about it, other than saying I'm making money or I'm not making money, or I need money or I don't need money. It's so much more to it than that.
Can I say
Mm-hmm.
this before I go? I
Yeah.
teach my children that there are four main principles, T. Number one, we have to, like I said, you have to have multiple streams of income. And you and I think when you met me, you were like, golly, stop pushing me.
Yeah, yeah.
So
She was
multiple
talking money from day one when I met her, which is how I ended up having this conversation with her. When I met her day one, I told her that I do what I do for the outcome, not the income. She told me straight up that was crazy. But with us being in education, we tell ourselves stuff like that from time to time, that what we're doing serves a greater purpose. But she
Mm-hmm.
helped me to see that it's more than just that. It's more than just that. So yes, you did. So number one.
Number one, multiple streams of income. Number two, you have to invest and not just save. Number three, you need to get to $100,000 very fast, because once you get to $100,000, your money starts to earn compounded interest that you never even knew you could have. Number four,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do something different. You've got to either be an owner or an entrepreneur in order to make your money run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are
And
my.
I and I'll tell you,
Yep.
ownership is the piece of the puzzle. That's a part of it. It's greater responsibility, but it also leads to opportunities. That's the piece when you can manage your own time and not have someone else dictate your time to you. You can manage that time yourself and move. Y'all should see Tamara sitting at this table sipping right now. I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna just say that part.
Sipping
I'm
is
keeping
good tea, making all the faces.
right. But when you have the ability to navigate your own schedule, you can take advantage of greater opportunities sometimes. And so it's always good. You may work for and with other people, but having your own as well gives you that financial freedom where you can walk away from things that don't benefit you anymore.
You better tell them one more time for the people in the back that we will what? Walk away from them things that do not benefit us anymore, especially when we are what? Prepared.
Yes, exactly. And like I said, and it's not necessarily saying that you can't work for anyone else. Don't want to
Mhm.
tell anyone you can't. But that's one of the things that I'm recognizing about this generation that we're in now. They are truly more about the entrepreneurial spirit at this point, especially with AI and a number of different things. These kids are starting businesses and all using these AI concepts and principles. They're not working and staying in jobs for years. It's like,
Waiting their turn.
right,
No.
right.
They're moving every 2 years. They
Yeah.
are moving every 2 years and they
Mm-hmm.
are getting more money each time they move. And
Right.
and this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to leave your job. I don't even want you to leave your job.
Mm-hmm.
To have a solid 9 to 5 so you can get that 401k, get that
Mm-hmm.
match, get the money match, and
Mm-hmm.
also have the money to fund your business,
Right.
fund something else. Because if
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't work out, you can do something else. And in the meantime, you can be an employee of the business
Mm-hmm.
that you start and
Mm-hmm.
write off
Mm-hmm.
all your taxes. And that's another situation. But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
telling you to be an entrepreneur. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
being an entrepreneur is hard.
Right.
Yes.
You can't go, have a good job and then buy some real estate and become a
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneur.
Right. Right. Exactly.
You need
Mm-hmm.
multiple streams.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And and that having those multiple streams gives you that opportunity to branch off into so many different areas, which is truly, you know, that's how you build that financial wealth and that freedom, And the reality is freedom is
Say that
more
word.
important. That's the piece right
Woo.
there.
Freedom. Freedom.
Absolutely.
Freedom is
Yeah.
a beautiful thing, and it's an expensive thing too. And
Mm-hmm.
it can cost you everything you have sometimes just to be free, but it is worth
Mm-hmm.
it when you can
Mm-hmm.
have that feeling of financial freedom and
Mm-hmm.
and physical
Mm-hmm.
freedom too. So
Yeah.
when you are stressed about finances, that's going to take a big toll on your physical health as well. It's going to take some people out, and so all these things are important. And I know the Bible
Mm-hmm.
says that the love of money
Yeah.
is the root of all evil. People need to
Mm-hmm.
understand it's not the attainment of money. Not we
Mm-hmm.
need money.
You have to
Right.
have money.
We
And
need money.
God intended for his people to have money. And here's
Mm-hmm.
the other piece that other people don't understand. When you have, you are to give. And God, it's better to be the one giving than the one receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Let me explain.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
God wants his people to preach to the world. How are we going to preach to the world? How? Without money. You have
Right.
to have money. And the thing is, when you begin to have wealth and you get wealth, what you don't want to
Mm-hmm.
do is you don't want to hoard your wealth. You want to
Right.
be a giver because that is how you multiply the money
Mm-hmm.
is by giving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Give,
Exactly.
give
But
whatever.
you got to have something to give.
You got to have something
Mm-hmm.
to give, but you cannot hold your fist so tight and closed
Mm-hmm.
that you can't give or receive anything.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can't do nothing like that. You have to
Mm-hmm.
freely give.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Definitely makes a difference. And I tell folks, and make sure when you bring it right on back to your faith, bring
Yep.
it back to your faith. You better walk in that church and give that tithing. You know what I'm saying? Do your tithe, as they say. Because what they say, you can't beat God's giving. The more you give, the more He gives to you. So you just think about that. And I'm not telling people that they're gonna buy the
Feel
Lord's
like you are
love.
you work on the usher board. That's what it sounds like to me. Like
Listen,
you trying to
listen.
get some money for the building fund. What is
Listen,
happening here?
listen, you better, every church got a building fund.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like. That sounds like that's the ministry you on at your church. You trying to collect money from the people.
Doesn't have to
He
be,
passing the
it
buck.
don't have to be the church.
This
It don't
we
have to
already
be the
been in
building
church
fund.
on Sunday already. We at Sunday brunch now. We brunching.
Look, I'm just letting you know where it's at. All right. Y'all
No doubt.
better do what you're supposed to do now. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yes, give and take care of the people. All jokes aside. But before we
Uh-huh.
get out of here too, um, we talked about a lot of good elements of your book. Tell us
Mm-hmm.
two things that you people just need to know about this book. And don't forget to
Mm-hmm.
tell people how they can get the book.
Two things that people need to know about the book. Well, you just know that the person that wrote the book has been through everything that I talk about. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's my journey. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you what I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Telling you how I've done it. That's one thing. And the other thing, I come from a place of love. The second thing,
Mm-hmm.
place of love. I'm not, I'm not being braggadocious in any way. It's
Mm-hmm.
just I see what I see and I know what I know, and I wanted to impart it to others,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially women, because we spend the most. We are worth the least, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So those
Mm-hmm.
two things. And you can find this book. You can go to my website, www.Dr. D-O-C-T-O-R Jemecia, JEMECIA.com, and you
Mm-hmm.
can purchase the book. Or you can go to Amazon and purchase my book.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes, yes, and it's a great book.
The title of my book is Wealth, Wellness, and Freedom: The Mindset, Money, and Health Guide for Women Who Want More Out of Life.
All right. And I'm assuming men can probably read that book too. It's not just for women, all right?
Listen, they better read it, because how
All
you
right.
gonna be with us? You don't know what we know. You need to know too. You
That's
need
what
to
I was
know
about to
too.
say. Men, read the
Yeah.
cliff notes so you can understand what they about to do. You understand what I'm
It
saying?
tells you to plant the seeds, trust the process, and get prepared to reap the harvest.
Absolutely.
Trust the process. Get prepared to reap the harvest. We as people have to be responsible for ourselves.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with needing help, but like you said, it's nice to be able to be in position to help others versus be in
Hmm.
the position of where you actually need that help.
Mhm.
And that is a blessing. And to whom much is given,
Much is
Much is required.
much is required.
Exactly. Well, that's a good place to end. And I tell you, I want to thank y'all for joining us right here at the table. And I am Dr. Richard Mason.
I am Dr. Tamara Williams.
And join us right back here next week at the table, WHOV Smooth 88.1 FM, for the most delicious hour in radio.
The essence of HU.
Keep your fork.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.